Hello and welcome to your new edition of Echo at Africa, your environment magazine program brought to you by Channels Television and Deutsche Welle. Today we are coming to you from the Ikorodu area of Lagos. But here are the other things we have coming to you on the show today. We'll look at a biodiversity success story in Rwanda's rainforest where the mountain gorilla population is increasing. Then we'll go on to Germany, where children are learning to relate with nature even in playtime. And outside of London, there is this solar panel collection that is floating and could help to support the local power supply. There are no gorillas here, but for a long time, Rwanda's mountain gorilla population was declining owing to years of war, hunting, habitat destruction, and disease, triggering fears of extinction by the end of the 20th century. Well, that story has taken a more positive turn. In 2015, there were more than 600 mountain gorillas living in the volcanic national park, 350 more than in the 1980s. Now, there's a need to create a connection between these animals and the human populations.
Early morning in Volcanoes National Park in Rwanda. Emmanuel Ahishakije is out once again with a small group of adventurers. They're looking for mountain gorillas. Emmanuel issues final instructions.
If the gorillas don't want us to join them, they can push this sound. That's the warning sound. When they push that sound, we keep insisting by saying, just for cooling them down.
The encounter comes at a premium. Each visitor pays $750 for an hour with the magnificent apes. But Emmanuel says he rarely gets any complaints afterwards. Rwanda's mountain gorillas are among the world's most endangered species. Barely 1,000 of them remain. Half of them live here, in the region straddling Rwanda, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. They live in family groups. This clan has 18 members, an impressive size. One reason for that is that they're now being tended to by veterinary surgeons.
For the simple disease, the gorillas, they heal themselves. But for the serious diseases, the team, the vet, they intervene. We don't treat the gorillas outside of the forest. We treat them in the forest. What the vet do, they come here with a daunting gun, then they shoot a sick gorilla. After shooting, they have to make sure that other members of a group, they don't know what is going on. Then they treat the sick one accordingly.
Consequently, an increasing number of Rwanda's gorillas are surviving. Urakoze is the youngest in the family. His name means thank you. Thank you for my survival, something that isn't a given. Unfortunately, the gorillas share their habitat with the various rebel groups that infest the area, primarily in the Congo region. Time and again, the apes get caught in the crossfire between rival militias. Or they fall victim to poachers. In some areas, their meat is considered a delicacy. Many people living around the national park boost their income by selling bushmeat. But that's at least been stopped in Rwanda. Nowadays, local residents here earn more by keeping gorillas alive.
Gorilla project, it's a kind of tourism project, and the tourism in this country is among the top sectors which generating much income in this country. And as long as we put much effort in conserving the gorillas, we get much money. Because at the end of the year, 5% among the money collected here in the forest come back to the communities. But not directly in the hand, but through different infrastructures, like the water tanks, the schools, health centers, even supporting the project of the local people who generating income to them.
Gorilla conservationists now stage an annual celebration in Rwanda. Even the country's president comes to the grand event. It's a symbolic act. All the newly born gorillas are given their names. The gorillas can't attend the party themselves. After all, it is symbolic. But it also signals that the gorillas are an important task for the entire country, so that one day, little rascals like Urakoze can grow up to be big and strong.
Heaps of sand, definitely nothing can grow on this. But this is like a desert in a tropical area. Let's go to Zimbabwe, where increased soil degradation and infertility have caused a sharp drop in food production. The resulting need to boost the agricultural sector has created a place for Zim earthworm farms. Ephraim Wingiri, who's the founder of the worm farm, believes that these slimy creatures can help immensely in the increase of food production.
Earthworms boost food production. Food production in Zimbabwe has decreased dramatically. One reason is degraded fields, depleted of soil nutrients. Farmer Emma Nyandoro has found a sustainable way to boost soil fertility. Using straw and soil, she's building a compost heap. Chicken manure or cattle dung make good fertilizer. But not before Emma's special workforce does its job, earthworms. These ingenious soil engineers unlock the nutrients in organic matter. The end product is a powerful, natural fertilizer. Now Emma grows so many vegetables that she can sell her produce to a nearby hospital. Over 100 farmers in the region now use earthworm composting. Like Emma and her grandchildren, they all benefit from better soil and richer harvests. Do you like that?
If you're also doing your bit, tell us about it. Visit our website or send us a tweet. #DoingYourBit. We share your stories.
When you look at the current situation and the efforts to sustain the greenery on our Mother Earth, you realize there's a need for the future generations and their relationships with nature to be built up so that they contribute to the well-being of our planet. That's why it's crucial that our children learn about the importance of a healthy environment from the young age. In Germany, over 1,500 groups are working with children aged between 3 and 6 years outside every day, developing a relationship with nature, even in the time of play.
These kids are turning the woods into a playground. The hillside provides a natural slide. Pieces of wood are great for carving. And juicy yellow plums along the way are a welcome morning snack. Every day they explore the forest on the outskirts of the German capital, Berlin. 4-year-old Vivid has been participating for the past 2 years, and today she's been allowed to join the group of older kids for the first time. Her mother says there's no better place for a child to develop.
When I lived in the city, I was shocked at what my kids were always picking up from the ground. I felt like they shouldn't touch anything. Everything was kind of disgusting or dirty or full of cigarette butts or garbage and dog poo. I always had the feeling I had to hold them back. There was no natural place for my kids to develop in the city.
The kids go outside in all seasons, regardless of the weather. There's no scheduled routine. Instead, the day is filled with the children's discoveries. At the moment, they're learning how to use hand tools. Andreas Apples has been working here for 14 years as a preschool teacher. He knows that going to the woods is good, both for the children's minds and their bodies.
Our aim is to give them a sense of mindfulness that they can communicate to other children, to tell them things like, why kill that bug? Why step on the nettles? They're important for the snails. When the sun comes out, snails can hide behind the leaves, and butterflies lay their eggs on them. Or look at this plant. You can eat it. Don't destroy it. It's important to us.
The motto? To learn through play. And there's no end to the topics.
What's this?
Let's see. Let's look at how big it is.
One of the girls has discovered an animal skull. Together, the kids and adults discuss what kind of animal it could have come from.
There's a small fang on the side, right? What do wild boars eat?
Mushrooms.
When we're sitting in a circle, smelling, feeling, or tasting, they experience many things that city kids won't experience in the same way. Sure, they could look it up on the internet, but it's not the same. And I think it makes a big impression, one that the kids are far more willing to share than an experience from a book.
A trip like this to the forest can be pretty exhausting. Around midday, the kids head back to base. They even have their own shelter to relax in. During the winter, they warm up here at the campfire. If it gets really cold, they can move into the nearby house. Plastic toys aren't allowed, but there are always plenty of activities to keep them busy. And sometimes special guests come to visit.
The neighbor's sheep come here looking for food on the property. The ram died, so it was buried. Here there's an appreciation for everything. Even when the kids are exploring and taking dead animals apart, there's still respect. And I believe that this respect for nature and its creatures will transform into respect for other human beings, as well as a sense of responsibility for the environment.
4-year-old Vivid really enjoyed her first day in the older children's group. And she and the other kids are already looking forward to their next adventure in the forest.
Hey, ooh. Now, when you see trash along the streets, what you see on the faces of people passing by is disgust, but not for Nawal Fakhri. When this lady who was in hospitality business sees trash, she sees amazing creations, even buildings. And guess what? She wants to teach others to love trash enough to take care of it.
Nawal Fakhri, a Lebanese-turned-Nigerian resident, is passionate about environmental sustainability. She recycles solid waste to create decorations.
Egg crate. I paint this egg crate and I use it. I copy from nature.
Along with her former partners, Nawal's creative mind set to work when she used recycled materials to build the Woodbridge Garden located at the central area of Abuja in 2014. For the 1 year it took to build, old tires, bottles, nylons and even egg crates were not spared. They all contributed to the finishing of the recreational center.
I used 2,864 tires, about 4,000 butter, about 3,000 plastic butter, about more than 1,000 cans, and many other materials. I used like 50 box of egg crates. All the small materials you will see, I don't throw anything.
The 52-year-old Lebanese environmentalist is not into the business for gain. She works closely with the African Community Bridge Foundation And together, they conduct projects From Trash to Cash, a training on recycling.
When we do the training, we don't train people how to do only. We also give them information about what this waste do to the environment and how it affects it. So we go together, they collect the waste from the dump, and they come, they wash them good, and later we start working with it. And if they don't know about that, now there is a way to know. And when they see the beautiful way how we are displaying this waste, they will like it and appreciate it.
Nawal's colleague and friend is indeed impressed by Nawal's creativity and has a lot to say.
I think it's something we really need to look at in Nigeria, or even just common Abuja, our immediate environment. She's made me realize now that I could be walking on the road and find so many little bits and pieces that were supposed to have been thrown away, refuse, that can become tangible, useful, decorative, creative tools. So I'm saying that, you know what, we really don't need to throw things away. We really need to just learn to just put things aside and find the likes of her.
Nigeria generates about 2.5 million tons of waste yearly. That amount of waste will fill about 131,579 trucks. Nawal wants to reduce that through her training. She's sharing her philosophy that those things originally meant for the bin can become valuable. She is planning to build many more houses from waste while teaching more people to love their waste enough to convert.
Inside, it will absorb it, see? And pieces of clothes.
Nawal is inspired by nature, and she hopes that her work will continue to make a positive impact on the environment.
So a lot of things float on water, different things. Sometimes it's waste, sometimes it's just vegetation like water hyacinth on water, and sometimes it's just boats. But in recent times, acceptance of solar for power generation has continued to rise. These panels now adorn roofs, fields, and even aircraft wings. But have you ever seen a floating solar farm? Yeah, floating like the boats or the water hyacinths on water. This reservoir near Walton-on-Thames, just outside of London, has more than 23,000 solar panels, enough to generate electricity for some 1,800 homes. Now that's talking about floating power.
This solar farm covers an area the size of 8 soccer pitches. It's situated on a reservoir in Walton-on-Thames on the outskirts of London. The gigantic facility recently went into operation and is set to supply 1,500 homes with electricity. Mark Strava from the Netherlands works for Lightsource Renewable Energy. The British solar power generator made the complex and will also run it for the next 20 years.
The panels that we see here today, they are the typical panels that you also see on your houses. It's a bulk standard. The beauty of solar is that you can actually connect 3 of these onto your little home system. What we've done is we connected 23,000 of these, and we have built a power and electricity plant.
The concept of photovoltaic systems, as they're known, had been around for some time before the first actually appeared a few years ago, thanks to silicon solar cells becoming cheaper. There are now projects on the ground, or rather on the water, in Britain, California and China. They're particularly popular in Japan, which has a scarcity of affordable land available, but a wealth of unused lakes.
Open-air sites can compete with farming and food production in terms of securing land. Plus, costs for land vary from one location to the next.
Solar energy and other alternatives to fossil fuels are a day-to-day job for Oliver Meyer. He works in the research section of US multinational conglomerate General Electric. His job, weighing up the opportunities and risks involved in the new technology. And that applies to the floating solar parks as well.
Photovoltaics will always impact the environment. Once you install a photovoltaic module somewhere, whether on a roof, on the ground, or on water, less energy reaches the area below. Yes, some of that energy is converted into electricity. But on the ground, you can see that a different kind of grass grows. With a lake, the question is whether the growth of algae changes, how it affects the fish and the food chain. All this still needs to be researched.
But first, the plan is to deploy the floating solar power generators not in natural bodies of water, but man-made reservoirs with fewer and lower waves. As seen with wind power, however, the future appears to lie offshore, which could look like this. Modular construction photovoltaic islands that can be easily assembled and disassembled, but with the stability to withstand the sea's moods. A pioneering concept that brings the dream of unlimited energy generation from the sun, wind and water a step closer.
Water. There's no way man exists without water. But guess what? It's used for different things. So let's just go on to South Africa, where we will meet this week's eco-hero Claire Molat and her organization Biomimicry. They have created an innovative water management system in the suburbs of Stellenbosch. It's also a unique example of an ecological wastewater system in a housing settlement. Let's go take a look.
It's been a rough journey for Claire Molat. The ecologist is on her way to Langrog, an illegal settlement near Stellenbosch in South Africa. She's in charge of a very special environmental project.
This is where our pilot project is for the ecological treatment of greywater. And behind us we have some of the trees that we've recently planted.
More than 6,000 people live in the settlement. In the past, people here disposed of wastewater using a rudimentary pipe. The water is full of E. coli bacteria, and in some places, it flowed directly into the street. It's a danger to the nearby river's ecological system, and for the youngest members of the settlement, according to Community Liaison Officer Solomon Sonzi.
Children will go to the clinic because they're of the rashes, and diarrhea as well, because there were loads of children who has stomach aches and all that,
To prevent that from happening, Claire and her team are building a wastewater system in parts of the settlement. So-called disposal points were set up where the water could best be filtered. The residents have helped to install new drains. The project is being financed by the provincial government. The second step was to plant trees. Trees filter the water. So-called filter pits were set up where the trees use the wastewater directly.
So the wastewater contains a lot of phosphates, and trees love those and other nutrients to grow. So they absorb it, they take it in from the water that's coming in the pipe below. The soil around them contains biochar, which is high in carbon. It basically creates the right bed for them to grow in, and also surfaces for other bacteria.
Claire Molat and her team have built 13 of the tree filter pits. The advantage is that the system is inexpensive and doesn't need electricity. The second part of the pilot project is being built on the edge of the settlement near the sports field. Langrog's wastewater will travel through underground pipes into another natural filter system, like in this model. A cascade of pores containing plants, animals, fungus and microorganisms will purify the water. Molat's colleague Natasha Wrightford has already built an eco-machine in her own garden.
So actually in this little model over here, the water's flowing really quickly. In reality, it would be more or less just dripping, and by the time the water leaves the system, it is free of nutrient load or food. The food's been taken out and filtered through life forms.
The process of copying nature's natural processes is called biomimicry.
It is the first time that biomimicry thinking and biomimicry methodology has been applied to an informal settlement in Africa. So what we're really doing is trying to prove the bioremediation technology.
The filtered water isn't clean enough to drink, but it can be used to irrigate fields. For Langrog, this project means progress. It's the same for other settlements like these in South Africa.
And that's a wrap on the show today. I want to thank you for watching. Keep in mind that going green opens up all kinds of opportunities. And guess what? Alternative sources of power also help a great deal. That's Echo at Africa today. Till bring you another edition, join the conversations on our social media platforms and check out our coverage of the environment and other issues on our website showing on your screen. Till we see you next week. Bye-bye from Ikorodu area of Lagos, Nigeria.